Hello everyone, it's your favorite retired Officer Mac here again. Welcome back to the Ask Officer Mac Show on the Mac Broadcasting Channel. On the Ask Officer Mac Show today, I'm going to talk about the reasons your juvenile should abstain from sex. Should be obvious, but yeah, I have to go there again. Last time I talked about how kids are having sex at a young age and wanted to know what's wrong with having sex. Why is it so important to wait? What is the benefit of being single? Why can't we have sex now? Everyone else is doing it. Sex is on TV, in commercials, on movies and DVDs, on the radio, on the internet, on magazines, in our homes. We are inundated with sex everywhere. And this is the worst part. No parents are looking forward to talking about it with their kids. So where are the kids learning it from? Like I said, it's everywhere. TV, commercials, movies, yada yada. It's everywhere you look. So someone is teaching your kids about sex. It's just not you. We need to make sure they get the right information. As I mentioned in the last video, I will be discussing many reasonable reasons for your juvenile to consider being celibate on their own. Why? Because if you believe your children will be celibate just because you said so, without providing a reasonable reason, you are sadly mistaken, and I have some swamp land to sell you. Children are more likely to be celibate if they understand a clearly explained reason that made sense to them. That reason would have to be in their best interest, but not formed as an order or a demand by a mother or father. A demand would only be followed in your presence. A reasonable reason to be celibate must be explained and understood in order for the child to make that decision on their own. That's what you want. That reason must also be strong enough to overcome peer pressure from friends. Let's look at some reasonable reasons now. Sexual abstinence before marriage is crucial for personal maturation. The following character traits are basic in the makeup of an individual. The degree to which we can create high levels of these positive traits in ourselves will determine our likelihood of success in marriage. In my view, it is indispensable to practice abstinence in order to develop these character traits. Let's look at self-esteem. Developing high self-esteem is one of the most vital traits for a developing human being. It is important not only for personal development, but also for developing relationships with others. The reason is that, as Brian Tracy says it is impossible to like or love anyone else if we do not like ourselves. The importance of developing a high self-esteem before marriage is obvious. It will allow one to love one's spouse more and create a deeper relationship. Many young people who are sexually experienced, however, suffer a loss of self-esteem, particularly when they contract a sexually transmitted disease. Yikes. According to the Medical Institute for Sexual Health, more than 80% of people with herpes say they feel less confident and feel less desirable sexually. Even if one escapes a sexually transmitted disease, casual sex alone can lower self-esteem. A 20-year-old college male who had a one-night stand with a girl met at a party and writes, "You will feel pretty crummy when you get drunk at a party and have sex with some girl, and the next morning you can't even remember her name, who she was. Feel pretty bad." Teenagers who become absorbed in an intense sexual relationship are turning inward in the very time when they should be experiencing life and reaching out and forming new friendships and joining clubs and teams and developing their interests and skills and taking on bigger social responsibilities. All of these are important. They're all important nutrients for a teenager's self-esteem. Along these lines, the psychiatrist Samuel Kaufman writes, "A girl who enters a serious relationship with a boy very early on in life may find out later that her individuality has been thwarted. She becomes part of him and fail to develop her own interests, her sense of independent identity. Such an occurrence leads to a lower self-esteem and can be avoided by abstaining from sex, at least sex until marriage. From my early teenage years, I decided that I would save sex until marriage. Looking back on my time as a teenager, I have to say that this time was precious. Knowing that did give me a sense of accomplishment and thus built my self-esteem. What about self-control? Well, learning discipline in oneself is vital to personal development. In order to be successful in anything, we need to practice self-control and self-discipline. In fact, discipline is so important because we derive self-esteem from it. An example of this is the feeling I receive when I, let's say, get my homework done instead of watching TV. I feel good about myself. This feeling comes from what Brian Tracy would call the law of control. The law of control says that we feel good about ourselves to the exact degree to which we feel we are in control of our own lives. We feel bad about ourselves or out of harmony with ourselves to the exact degree to which we are controlled by others or other circumstances. Sexual abstinence before marriage is a form of control over our bodies and lives. The human body naturally desires sexual fulfillment. The discipline is learning to control or channel the sexual energy into something productive. Casual sex, on the other hand, breeds lack of discipline. It encourages one to follow bodily instincts rather than controlling them. The attitude that promotes this lifestyle perhaps comes from what social scientist James Q. Wilson presumes as a prevailing characteristic of American life. American people have, and I quote, American people have embraced an ideology that values self-expression over self-control, end quote. We know the importance of self-control by looking at the effects of it, or lack of it. As Thomas Laconis writes, quote, the breakdown of self-control is a big factor in many of the sex-related problems that plague American society, like rape, promiscuity, pornography, sex addiction, sexual harassment, sexual abuse of children, sexual identity, infidelity in marriage. Knowing the power of sex, it is no wonder that Sigmund Freud once said sexual self-control is essential for civilization. While trying to control one's sexual desire is important, I do not think that sexual desire can be completely controlled as to simply overcoming it. Rather, is the key is to have enough self-control to control or channel one's sexual energy into other areas. The notion of channeling on one's sexual energy is written about by Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich. Hill says sexual transmutation, as he calls it, is practiced by all highly successful people, whether they are aware of it or not. Sex transmutation is a switching of the mind from thoughts of physical expression to thoughts of some other nature. Now, in future videos, I will be discussing sexual transmutation as well as learning to set goals and delaying gratification. These are all important techniques and skills that will help you as well as your children in making the correct and wise decision when it comes to celibacy. So don't miss out on these as well as other videos that I put out weekly. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this channel. Help this channel to grow and reach as many people as possible. Well, I just want to say thank you for watching, and this was the Ask Officer Mac Show, and this is the Mac Broadcasting Channel. My name is Officer Mac, and I'll see you next time.